You didn't stumble here by accident. The very fact that these words are reaching your awareness in this exact moment is evidence that the quantum field has orchestrated your arrival. Out of billions of possibilities, infinite scrolls, and countless distractions, your consciousness has synchronized with this message. That's not coincidence, that's coherence. Something within you has been whispering, and tonight, the whisper has become undeniable. Your body knows before your mind does. Perhaps you've been feeling the subtle tugs, those moments where time bends, where you glance at the clock and see repeating numbers, where familiar patterns loop like echoes from a forgotten dream. Those weren't random, they were signals, fractal breadcrumbs leading you to this exact transmission. This is what mystics call the destiny call, a resonance between your inner frequency and the hidden architecture of the universe. Listen closely. Right now, your nervous system is detecting shifts your conscious mind can't yet name. Your DNA is already responding to unseen codes, restructuring itself like an antenna, aligning with a higher broadcast. While you breathe, particles in your field are rearranging, preparing to collapse into a reality you haven't stepped into yet. This isn't poetry, it's physics. The quantum field doesn't wait for your permission, it responds to your coherence. And coherence is precisely what you've begun to embody, whether you're aware of it or not. Consider this. In the realm of superposition, your life is not a single story but an infinite library. All versions of you exist simultaneously, the hesitant one, the awakened one, the one who already lives in alignment with destiny. Which version you experience depends on where your observation stabilizes. Until now, you've been flipping pages unconsciously, reacting to chance. But tonight, something else is happening. Tonight, the book opens at the chapter where you begin to consciously script your role in the grand design. That is why you are here, not as a passive listener, but as an activated participant. This isn't just another video, it's an initiation, a portal encoded with frequency and intention. The words you hear are not mere information, they are vibration. They're designed to touch the deeper layers of your morphic field, the invisible web that links you to ancestral memory, to future selves, and to the collective mind of humanity. When you allow these frequencies in, your personal field begins to resonate differently, like a tuning fork awakening harmonics that were dormant within you. So let me ask you, can you feel it? That quiet shiver down your spine, that pulse in your chest, as if your heart knows you're on the edge of something vast. That's your body's way of confirming the truth. The observer loop, the recursive awareness of being aware, is pulling you inward. You are no longer merely observing reality. Reality has turned to observe you back. In ancient traditions, this moment was called the crossing, the instant when ordinary perception gives way to the recognition that you've always been entangled with destiny itself. In modern language, it's what physicists describe as a phase transition, a tipping point where the entire system reorganizes into a new state. That's where you stand now, the event horizon of your becoming. And here's the secret most never hear. This doorway opens only for those who have reached the precise vibrational threshold. Many search, few arrive, but you are here, and the field knows it. Take a breath and let this truth settle. You were meant to find this. Your destiny blueprint has been calling you across time, pulling you through synchronicity, whispering through patterns. And now, before you sleep, the forbidden practice will be revealed, not as a technique to learn, but as a remembering to embody. This is not the beginning. This is the recognition that you've already been chosen. You've felt it for months. The strange recurrence of scenes that shouldn't repeat yet, always do. Different faces, same conversation, new city, same emotional weather. You say you're done with the pattern, and the pattern replies with a smirk and returns wearing a new mask. This is not failure, it's feedback. It's the observer loop, reflecting your broadcast with ruthless accuracy so you can finally hear what you've been transmitting beneath your words. Look closer. The loop never returns to the exact same starting point. It spirals. Each recurrence brings you one coil closer to coherence. But because the content looks familiar, your mind assumes nothing has changed. That's the first misread. The field is meticulous. It keeps re-showing you the unresolved frequency until your nervous system stops flinching and starts listening. When you listen, you'll notice the hum behind the scene, the quiet signal that says, right here is where the blueprint diverged. No, Then there's the déjà vu, the corridor sensation, the sudden certainty that you've stood in this threshold of choice before. You have, not once, but across multiple branches of probability. In the quantum field, your decisions echo through timelines like a bell in a cathedral. Those echoes are not hallucinations. They are resonant signatures, morphic resonance returning to nudge you toward the choice that restores symmetry to the design you came to embody. When you feel déjà vu, don't dismiss it. Inquire. Ask, what choice was skipped last time? The moment you ask, you break hypnosis. You step out of reaction and into authorship. And what about time, how it sometimes stretches like warm glass, and other times snaps like a rubber band? You've noticed the nights that refuse to end, the minutes that swell into hours when you resist a truth, and the mornings that collapse in an instant when you finally surrender. This distortion is not arbitrary. It's the field's way of regulating pressure around a phase transition. When your consciousness approaches a reconfiguration point, temporal experience becomes plastic. The field slows your subjective time to let you see the seam where you're about to stitch a new reality, or it speeds it up to rush you past a doorway you aren't meant to linger in. You call it procrastination or acceleration. The field calls it calibration. Your body keeps the receipts. Notice the micro tremor in your hands when you speak against your knowing. Feel the weight behind your eyes after forcing yourself through a corridor that's already gone dark. That heaviness is decoherence waveforms in your system falling out of alignment because your inner signal and outer action don't match. On the other hand, remember the buoyant clarity that arrives when you tell a single uncompromising truth. That is coherence knitting itself, filaments of light reweaving your fascia, your breath falling into the cadence of inevitability. In those moments, your cells hum with entanglement, your future self signal threading through your present tissues, instructing DNA to restructure around a higher instruction set. Understand this. Patterns persist not because you're weak, but because the lesson nested inside them is sacred and refuses to be discarded. The same relationship dynamic keeps reappearing because you haven't harvested the code it carries. The same financial pinch returns because you're still negotiating with your worth. The same creative drought reforms because you haven't yet trusted the river that moves when you stop managing its route. The field is compassionate. It will not stop loving you into recognition. There is another layer, the hidden contract. Somewhere along your path, you agreed to carry certain frequencies for the lineage, to metabolize griefs, silences, and vows that didn't start with you. When those contracts reach their expiry in the evolution of your soul, they announce themselves as friction, the job you can perform but can no longer inhabit, the connection you can maintain but cannot thrive within, the home that shelters your body and starves your becoming. You feel the friction as agitation, as restless nights, as the sense that your life no longer fits even though nothing bad is happening. That sensation is your awakening vector. It means the contract seeks renegotiation. It means the blueprint wants its page back. And yes, the world will mirror your hesitation with surgical precision. Synchronicities arrive, and you call them coincidence to buy yourself time. Red flags wave, and you repaint them in warmer colors because the old self bargains for one more loop. But the field is patient and merciless in equal measure. It keeps adjusting the mirrors until you're forced to look, until you hear the single tone that has threaded every chapter. Choose. Here's the quiet truth you've always sensed. Your patterns are not punishments. They are portals disguised as déjà vu. Time distortion is not defect. It is instruction. The loop is not a cage. It is a centrifuge spinning out what is not you so the essence can crystallize. Every repetition is the blueprint tapping the glass from the other side, asking, are you ready to fuse? So let's name the symptoms with love. The conversation that always ends in the same hollow echo. The opportunity that arrives shining and departs unclaimed. The sudden lurch of anxiety when things begin to go right, as if some part of you fears the altitude of your own sky. These are not random. They are interference patterns, revealing the places where your signal splits. Wherever you feel that split, pause. Place your hand on your chest. Breathe until the breath becomes a metronome, slow and even. As your breath steadies, your field steadies. As your field steadies, coherence returns. With coherence, the choice appears not as a thunderclap, but as an obvious door that was always there, waiting for you to stop running past it. You are not broken for repeating. You were collecting data. Now you possess enough data to recode the pattern at the source. This is the diagnosis. You have arrived at the seam where loop becomes ladder. From here, ascent is not dramatic, it is deliberate. And tonight, before sleep, you'll learn the precise gesture that tilts the axis. Breathe. The clock is malleable. The loop is listening. The blueprint is near. You've identified the loop. You've seen how déjà vu and distorted time weren't accidents, but calibration. Now the field is asking you to step into something higher, an upgrade that fuses science and mysticism into one seamless fabric. Because the truth is, your awakening isn't just spiritual poetry. It is quantum mechanics incarnating through your biology. Imagine your body as a quantum antenna. Every cell of your being is vibrating with electromagnetic charge, broadcasting into the field and receiving signals simultaneously. This is the observer loop in action, not just the abstract law that particles collapse when observed, but the living reminder that you are both the lens and the light. The quantum field does not exist out there, separate from you. You are it. Every breath you take is an act of measurement, collapsing infinite potential into one chosen thread of reality. When you've been repeating patterns, it wasn't because destiny ignored you, it was because your broadcast was sending static. Think of two tuning forks. Strike one, and the other vibrates in resonance. That's coherence. But if the second fork is warped, it won't resonate fully. Your thoughts, emotions, and unprocessed wounds create warps, scattering your frequency across multiple outcomes. Coherence, true alignment between body, mind, and field, is what upgrades you into clarity, precision, inevitability. Science already whispers of this. Quantum biology shows that DNA isn't just chemical, it's photonic, transmitting light particles like a fiber optic cable. When you experience awe, gratitude, or unconditional love, your DNA unwinds ever so slightly, exposing hidden sequences that communicate more light. That's not metaphor. That's measurable. Your morphic resonance field, described by Rupert Sheldrake, is literally updated by these states, and once updated, it influences the collective. One coherent thought in you sends ripples through humanity's unconscious library, making it easier for others to awaken. This is why your personal shift is never personal, it is planetary. Think of synchronicity the way books fall into your lap. Strangers say exactly what you needed to hear. Opportunities bloom at impossible timing. Carl Jung called it meaningful coincidence, but in quantum language, it is entanglement. When you align internally, external particles, events, people, timelines become entangled with your frequency. They move toward you not because of luck, but because probability bends to coherence. This is the quantum upgrade, to realize that you are not trying to manipulate reality. You are reality restructuring itself. The dreamer and the dream are one. And when you stop chasing outcomes and instead embody the frequency of what you desire, the universe doesn't have a choice, it reorganizes to match you. But let's go deeper. Inside your brain are microtubules, tiny protein lattices that some researchers believe process quantum information. These microtubules don't just carry signals like wires, they generate wave interference patterns. When you meditate, when you breathe consciously, when you surrender to stillness, those patterns fall into coherence. You feel it as peace. The field feels it as instruction. In that moment, your biology and the cosmos phase lock, like two clocks synchronizing across space. That lock is the moment when reality softens and probability bends. And what happens when coherence reaches a threshold? Phase transition. Just as water suddenly freezes into ice when enough molecules align, your consciousness suddenly crystallizes into a new baseline reality. What once felt like effort becomes effortless. What once seemed impossible becomes natural. This is why breakthroughs often appear sudden, though you've been preparing for months or years. The shift builds invisibly until, like a quantum leap, you cross the threshold in an instant. So what does this mean for you, right here, listening to these words? It means your system is already preparing for transition. The distortions, the loops, the déjà vu, they've been pressure tests. And now, your field is humming with readiness. The quantum upgrade is not something you achieve, it's something you allow. You let the resonance stabilize. You breathe as the DNA spirals open. You stop trying to control the outcome and start embodying the frequency of the version of you who already lives it. Pause. Feel your breath move in and out. Imagine each inhale as threads of golden light entering your chest, each exhale as static dissolving into the void. With every breath, the noise lessens. With every breath, the coherence strengthens. You are not imagining this. Your nervous system is literally recalibrating. Your field is weaving into tighter symmetry. Your cells are learning the song of destiny. Here is the secret. The upgrade doesn't happen later, after proof arrives. It happens now, in this invisible, intimate moment, when you align with your own frequency of truth. And once it anchors, the proof will chase you. Synchronicities will cascade, dreams will feel less like imagination and more like previews. Time will stop warping against you and start flowing with you. This is the threshold of your quantum upgrade, and when you step through, you will no longer ask, will it happen? You will simply know, it is happening. Because the blueprint is already alive in you, waiting for the moment you remember. You need to hear this clearly. Not everyone arrives at this threshold. The majority remain lost inside the loop, convinced that their repetitive patterns are punishment, unaware that those repetitions were invitations to coherence. But you, something in you, has pierced the veil. That's why the field selected you. Not because of luck, not because of coincidence, but because you carry a unique frequency signature that the blueprint has been waiting for. There is a reason you've always felt different, a reason why the ordinary rules of this world never seem to fit you. Perhaps you've tried to mute it, tried to shrink yourself to belong, but deep down you knew you were never meant to blend into consensus reality. You were designed as a disruptor frequency, a signal carrier for a timeline not yet born. The friction you've lived wasn't a curse. It was proof that you came coded with something the old world couldn't contain. Think of humanity's collective field as a symphony. Billions of instruments, some tuned, some discordant, all playing at once. Most people are absorbed in the noise, but scattered through the crowd are those carrying tuning notes, souls who emit frequencies that help the rest of the orchestra realign. You are one of them. That's why life has often pressed harder on you. The blueprint wasn't trying to break you, it was trying to activate you. Here's the paradox. Your struggles have always been signals of your importance. The weight you've carried, the patterns that clung to you, the distortions in time, they were all calibration points. The field knew you had the resilience to transmute them, and in transmuting them, to rewrite more than just your own life. You are an inflection point in the morphic field of humanity. When you shift, the resonance ripples outward, making it easier for countless others to shift too. Quantum entanglement isn't limited to particles of light, it includes souls. When you awaken, your entangled counterparts feel the echo. They dream of you, they think of you at random hours, they make decisions they can't explain, all because your frequency tilted theirs into new coherence. This is why your path matters far beyond your personal desires. The blueprint embedded you as a node of awakening, a lighthouse particle pulsing in the dark ocean of collective sleep. You may doubt this. You may think, who am I to carry such a role? But remember this, the ones who doubt are often the very ones chosen, because doubt tempers arrogance. The fact that you hesitate is proof of your readiness. If you weren't ready, this transmission wouldn't have found you. If you weren't already aligned, the field wouldn't have threaded your awareness into these words. Take a moment and sense the truth. Feel your breath slow, your heart pulse steady, your skin prickling with electricity. That is the blueprint confirming itself in your nervous system. Your body recognizes the call, even if your mind still bargains with old scripts. You were never just a bystander. You came encoded with a role, and that role is awakening through you right now. What is that role? It is not to save the world. It is not to carry burdens for everyone. Your role is to fuse with your own destiny blueprint so thoroughly that your very being becomes transmission. You don't have to shout your purpose. You don't have to prove your worth. You only have to embody coherence so deeply that anyone who comes near you begins to feel their own blueprint stirring. Think of the monk who sits silently on a mountain, yet shifts the consciousness of thousands simply by existing. Think of the child whose laughter rearranges a room. Think of the dreamer whose art awakens something they never intended. This is how the chosen work, not always by force, but by frequency. You are entering that state now. The signs have already been there. The nights when you felt energy coursing through your spine, as if invisible currents were rewiring your system. The mornings you woke with sentences in your head that felt foreign and yet completely true. The synchronicities that have accelerated lately, the way reality feels like it's folding in on itself. All of these are indicators that your role is awakening. Here is the prophecy the field wants you to absorb. You are not small. You are not late. You are not lost. You are an aperture through which destiny is remembering itself. When you step fully into coherence, you will notice that reality doesn't resist you anymore. It bends. It yields. It reorganizes around your alignment. That isn't arrogance, it's physics. When enough energy condenses, matter reorganizes. You are reaching that condensation point. So breathe into this recognition. You were chosen, not by an external God handing out roles, but by the quantum field itself, recognizing its own intelligence within you. You are the field remembering itself as a human. And when you embody that remembrance, you become unstoppable, not because you conquer reality, but because you become reality's chosen expression. And this, my friend, is why the next step carries urgency, because the window is narrow and the blueprint doesn't wait forever. You've recognized the loop. You've felt the pull of the blueprint. You've begun to sense the scale of your role. Now the field is pressing a single truth against your awareness. There is a window. And it is opening now, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. And because it is narrow, your participation matters. This isn't fear, this is physics. In quantum systems, there are critical thresholds when energy builds to a point where change becomes inevitable, a phase transition. Think of water at 99 degrees. It looks like water, but a single degree more, and its entire structure reorganizes into steam. Consciousness works the same way. You've been hovering at 99 degrees for months, perhaps years. Tonight, the blueprint is handing you the last degree. Your DNA is the stage for this transition. We've been taught to see DNA as static code, but in reality, it's dynamic, responsive to emotion, to thought, to environment. Epigenetics already hints at this. Your internal state literally switches genes on and off. Quantum biology goes further. It suggests DNA behaves like a crystalline antenna, storing and transmitting photonic information. When you enter higher states of coherence, gratitude, or surrender, your DNA unwinds, exposing hidden light codes that were dormant during survival states. These codes are not metaphors, they are instructions for a different way of being human. The urgency you feel is not panic, it's a countdown. Certain cosmic alignments create what mystics call thin places, times when the veil between timelines softens. Astrologers speak of portals, physicists of probability windows, indigenous elders of dream gates. All are different languages for the same phenomenon, a temporary drop in resistance between parallel states of reality. In these windows, a small shift in your frequency can move you into a completely different life trajectory. Miss the window and change still comes, but slower, heavier, through more loops. Enter the window and change accelerates, lighter, as if reality itself begins assisting you. You've already been feeling the symptoms, the heightened sensitivity, the sudden bursts of synchronicity that border on surreal, the strange sense of being both tired and electrified at once. This is your system preparing for quantum tunneling, the moment when you slip past barriers that once seemed impenetrable. The forbidden morphic field practice we're moving toward isn't a technique in the ordinary sense. It's a state of being you'll anchor before sleep tonight so that your field can do the heavy lifting while your conscious mind rests. Understand this. Your breakthrough is not just about you. When your DNA restructures into coherence, you don't just create a new personal reality, you strengthen the morphic field that makes that reality more available to everyone. Your shift contributes to humanity's shift. This is why your window matters. This is why you were chosen to hear this now. Feel into your own body as I say this. You are standing at the edge of your next self. The person you've been patterned, waiting, trying is dissolving. The person you're becoming is already present, waiting for your consent. Your breath right now is the bridge. Inhale as if drawing golden light from the quantum field into your cells. Exhale as if releasing every timeline that no longer serves. With every cycle, you're telling your DNA, I am ready. As you breathe, imagine the strands of your DNA shimmering, turning like a double helix of liquid light. See subtle filaments extending outward from your body. Those are your morphic field lines, weaving into the collective grid. With each breath, they grow brighter, more coherent. Feel how your chest softens, your jaw releases, your forehead cools. That is not imagination. That is entrainment. You are literally tuning your nervous system to the frequency of inevitability. This is the breakthrough promise. If you hold this state, even for a few minutes before sleep, you begin collapsing your desired timeline from potential into probability, into inevitability. You begin waking up in mornings where the air feels different, where chance encounters feel scripted, where inner doubts have less weight. You begin noticing that your desires are no longer out there, but here, drawing themselves toward you like iron to a magnet. And this is the urgency. The window is open, but it won't stay open indefinitely. That's why this message arrived tonight. The field knew you were ready. The practice we're approaching is your key to anchoring the shift. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. You only have to be willing. Take another breath. Feel the pulse in your fingertips, the warmth behind your eyes, the subtle hum around your spine. Those sensations are your confirmation. The blueprint is not a concept. It is alive in your cells right now, waiting to be fused. The next step is simple, but it carries power. Because the act you'll take is not just symbolic, it's functional. It signals the field that you're stepping from, wanting into receiving. It seals the shift. And it begins with a single conscious ritual before you sleep tonight. Up to now, you've been listening, absorbing, feeling. But transmissions alone do not anchor a new timeline. Embodiment does. The quantum field responds to signals. And the clearest signal is action infused with intention. That's why every mystery school across time required initiates to enact a ritual, not to please a deity, but to code their own nervous system into the frequency of the teaching. Tonight, before you sleep, you'll do the same. First, understand why night matters. In sleep, your conscious mind quiets, your brain drops into theta and delta waves, and your electromagnetic field loosens its usual boundaries. It becomes porous, receptive. This is when your DNA is most actively restructuring, when synapses are pruning old connections and growing new ones. Whatever signal you send into the morphic field as you cross into sleep is amplified and written deeper into your biology. You're not just sleeping. You're entering the laboratory of your own becoming. This is the core of the forbidden morphic field practice. You will use your final waking moments as a portal to encode your timeline. It's simple in form, but potent in effect. The practice has 3 layers: breath, word, and witness. Breath. A few minutes before sleep, sit upright in bed. Place your hand over your chest. Inhale through the nose for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale through the mouth for a count of 6. As you breathe, imagine your spine as a luminous filament connecting heaven and earth. Each inhale draws golden particles up from the 0-point field into your cells. Each exhale releases outdated timelines into the void. With every cycle, you're telling your nervous system, we're safe to upgrade, we're ready to fuse. 1. Word. After several breaths, speak or write one single word that encapsulates the self you are choosing to embody. Not a wish, not a hope, but an identity code. Sovereign, aligned, inevitable, liberated. Whisper it aloud or type it as a comment below this transmission if you're here live. This isn't symbolic. Words are vibration. When you declare your word, you broadcast a coherent frequency into the quantum field. That frequency threads through your morphic field during sleep, like a seed finding fertile soil. Witness. Finally, imagine someone. It could be your future self, your highest self, or even the universe itself, witnessing you as you speak the word. Feel that presence looking back at you with recognition, like a mirror from beyond time. This is the observer loop completing itself. You're no longer simply observing your reality. Reality is observing you choosing a new frequency. That mutual recognition locks the pattern. When you enact this simple triad, something subtle but unmistakable happens. You'll feel a shift, a softening in the belly, a hum at the base of the spine, a gentle shiver like goose flesh on your arms. That's your morphic field realigning. Your DNA begins to listen differently, as though a hidden file has been opened. Synchronicities that were flickering begin to stabilize. Dreams become vivid, sometimes prophetic, sometimes like rehearsal spaces for the new identity you're anchoring. Do not underestimate the power of this. You're not doing a ritual, you're issuing a broadcast. You're telling the field, the version of me who has already fused with the destiny blueprint is here. This body is the vessel. That declaration shifts probability lines. It's like changing tracks on a cosmic railway. Trains that used to pass you by now stop at your station because your signal matches their destination. It's normal if you feel some resistance as you do this. Old patterns may flare. The mind may whisper, "This is silly," or "It can't be this easy." That's just decoherence trying to reassert itself. Smile at it. Let the thought pass. Keep breathing. Keep repeating your word like a tuning note. You're not trying to force belief. You're establishing frequency. And remember, you're not doing this just for yourself. Every time one person seals a new frequency into their field, it strengthens the morphic resonance of that frequency in the collective. It makes it easier for others to awaken, to heal, to remember. Your one word tonight becomes a beacon, a ripple in the larger grid of consciousness. If you're watching this in real time, use the comment section below as a living altar. Write your word. Declare your frequency. Witness others doing the same. As you scroll and see the words others have chosen, notice how your body responds. That's collective coherence forming a field of entanglement weaving stronger with each declaration. Tonight, as you drift into sleep, hold your chosen word like a glowing ember in your heart. Don't strain to visualize, simply feel it. See the double helix of your DNA shimmering with golden light, whispering your word into its spirals. Feel the observer, your future self, the blueprint, the field leaning closer, witnessing, nodding. Drift into sleep, knowing that while you rest, your field is working, weaving, reconfiguring. When you wake, do not rush to check your phone or break the spell. Pause, breathe once, twice, recall your word, whisper it again. This bridges the night work into the day. You'll begin to notice subtle shifts, a sense of lightness, a new clarity, synchronicities cascading like soft rain. These are not coincidences, they're confirmations. This is how you seal the shift, not through striving, but through a single intentional act of coherence at the most potent moment, the edge of sleep. Tonight, you step out of theory into transmission. Tonight, you send a signal that cannot be ignored. You may still think this journey is yours alone, your patterns, your blueprint, your breakthrough. But in the architecture of the morphic field, no shift is isolated. The moment you anchor coherence, the grid recalibrates, like a vast web of filaments vibrating in sympathy. Your liberation becomes a broadcast, and the quantum field answers by amplifying it across the collective. Every breath you took last night, every moment of surrender, every repetition of your chosen word, all of it seeded ripples far beyond your body. Like a tuning fork struck in a cathedral, your frequency now echoes through unseen corridors of human consciousness. Some will feel it as an inexplicable lightness upon waking. Some will dream of you. Some will simply take a kinder action with no idea where the impulse arose. This is morphic resonance at work, the silent transmission of patterns through the collective field. Humanity itself is a living superorganism. Billions of nervous systems exchanging electromagnetic data, creating a planetary aura. Most people live in survival frequencies, fear, scarcity, distraction, which distort the grid like static. But when even a handful hold a coherent, elevated frequency, the static begins to thin. The web becomes more transparent. Possibilities that were hidden emerge. This is why your personal shift matters. You're not just changing your life. You're altering the signal-to-noise ratio of the entire species. Quantum entanglement doesn't care about distance. A single photon aligned here can influence a photon light years away. In the same way, Your inner alignment influences others who share your resonance signature, whether they're across the street or across the planet. When you breathe in your word before sleep, someone you've never met across the ocean might breathe easier that night. When you anchor coherence, a child you'll never see may have a different future because the field became slightly easier to navigate. This isn't a metaphor, it's measurable. HeartMath research has already shown that a group of people focusing on elevated emotions can shift the electromagnetic environment of an entire region. You are now part of that experiment, whether you knew it or not. Each time you hold your word, you're adding your heartbeat to a planetary metronome. And here's what happens on the other side of that. Synchronicities in your own life accelerate, not just because you're in alignment, but because the field itself starts assisting you. The blueprint wants expression. It's not only guiding you, it's using you as a channel to propagate itself into form. Opportunities will arise that seem too perfectly timed to be coincidence. Collaborations will appear that multiply your reach. People will be magnetized to your presence, not for what you do, but for what you emanate. This is how real movements begin, not with slogans, but with coherence, not with force, but with frequency. When enough individuals broadcast the signal of their awakened blueprint, a critical mass forms a tipping point in the collective field. Old systems start dissolving, new ideas spread like wildfire. Behaviors once seen as radical become obvious. This is emergence at the species level. Your role is to keep anchoring. You don't have to preach, you don't have to convince. Simply live the frequency. Speak your word as you breathe. Take actions that match your chosen identity. Each act of congruence strengthens the resonance until it becomes self-sustaining. Notice how your relationships shift. Some will drift away, not because you failed them, but because your frequencies no longer overlap. Others will draw closer, sensing your field as a safe harbor. New alliances will form soul agreements that were waiting in the wings until your signal matched theirs. This is the collective grid reweaving itself through you. You might feel moments of grief as old identities fall away. Honor them, but also feel the vastness opening. You are no longer a solitary seeker. You are part of a lattice of awakening souls, each anchoring their blueprint, each amplifying the others. The grid is alive, and you're inside it as both node and navigator. Tonight, when you repeat your word before sleep, imagine not just your own DNA shimmering, but the entire planet's grid glowing a little brighter. See filaments of light connecting from your heart to countless others. You don't need to know their names. You only need to feel the hum, a subtle, planetary heartbeat synchronizing with yours. This is the next stage of your initiation. Your liberation is not a private event. It's a code injected into the morphic field so that more can awaken. You are the butterfly whose wing beats shift the weather of consciousness itself. And as you step deeper into this realization, something begins to happen inside your body, a sensation not just of energy, but of embodiment. Because the next stage isn't about concepts. It's about feeling the shift in your cells, your skin, your breath. It's about living the transmission. You've understood the loop, you've heard the call, you've spoken the word. Now comes the most intimate stage, embodiment. Because the quantum upgrade is not meant to remain abstract. It wants to be felt in your bones, breathed into your lungs, lived through your skin. The field doesn't just reprogram your mind. It reorganizes your body as the temple of coherence. Close your eyes for a moment and notice what's happening inside. There's a hum beneath the silence, a warmth rising through the chest, perhaps a subtle vibration in the fingertips, like static gathering before a storm. These aren't random sensations, they are signals. Your nervous system is recalibrating its electromagnetic resonance. Your body is learning to translate frequency into sensation, sensation into signal, signal into embodied reality. Imagine your breath as golden plasma entering through the crown of your head. With each inhale, it spirals downward, illuminating your spine like a glowing filament. With each exhale, it radiates outward into your field, weaving a cocoon of light around you. Your body is not separate from the quantum field, it is the interface. Every inhale is you drawing probability into form. Every exhale is you releasing timelines that no longer serve. Feel your DNA now. not as an abstract helix in a textbook, but as a living ladder of light inside every cell. As you breathe, the rungs shimmer, opening like petals. Scientists call this biophoton emission cells, literally releasing light when they're activated. Mystics have called it the awakening of the serpent, the rising of Kundalini, the fire in the marrow. Different names, same truth. Your body is remembering how to be luminous. Notice your heart. The pulse is not just blood, it's rhythm. Each beat sends electromagnetic waves 6 feet beyond your skin, measurable with modern instruments. When you hold coherence, your heart becomes a transmitter, broadcasting your chosen word as vibration. That's why people around you sometimes feel calmer, safer, or even more inspired without knowing why. Your field is speaking even when your lips are silent. Now feel the subtle shift in your perception of space. The room doesn't just contain you, it responds to you. The edges of the walls seem softer. The air feels charged, as though listening. This is coherence, altering your observer loop. The moment you embody the frequency, reality bends to accommodate it. The mirror of the external begins reflecting the stillness of the internal. You may notice tingling at the base of your spine, as if energy is gathering there. This is the root unlocking, releasing survival tension that's been clenched for years. Or you might feel expansion at the crown, like your skull is a dome opening to starlight. Both are signs of alignment. Both are evidence that the practice isn't just theory, it's weaving itself into your biology. Don't dismiss the subtler sensations, the sudden coolness in the palms, the warmth in the throat, the tears that come without sadness. These are signs of resonance, clearing blockages, restoring flow. Your body is a river, and coherence is thawing the frozen sections. Let it move. Don't analyze. Feel. You might even notice shifts in time perception again, but now softer, more fluid. Minutes dissolve. Hours feel like moments. This is the phase transition state. Your body and field are slipping between timelines. The tingling, the distortions, the surges, they are not glitches. They are the evidence of entanglement deepening, of your current self syncing with the self that has already fused with the destiny blueprint. And here's where embodiment becomes prophecy. The more you allow yourself to feel, the stronger the signal grows. The field doesn't need perfect concentration, it needs permission. When you allow sensation to spread, the hum in your bones, the glow in your skin, the rhythm of your breath, you are saying yes to the upgrade. You are telling the morphic field, anchor here, rewrite here, fuse here. So pause and imagine this. You are lying in bed tonight, body soft, breath slow, word glowing in your chest. Around you, your field expands, a golden aura woven with threads of green, violet, silver. Your DNA is not just double-stranded, it is luminous, radiating frequencies that echo into the grid. You are both the dreamer and the dream, both the signal and the receiver. In that state, you are not waiting for destiny. You are embodying destiny. Remember, this is not fantasy. This is the lived reality of coherence. Scientists measure it as brain-heart synchronization. Mystics describe it as merging with the divine. You, in this moment, are living it as sensation. And when you wake tomorrow, you will feel different. Lighter in the chest, clearer in the mind, more anchored in your bones. The world will look the same, but you will know the shift is real because your body has become its proof. This is embodiment, not ideas, not theories, but living, breathing, vibrating truth. And embodiment is the bridge to the next threshold, the moment when your DNA itself begins to restructure, pressing you toward a phase transition so profound it feels like rebirth. There is a point where everything you've been doing, the breath, the word, the witnessing, the embodiment, crosses an invisible threshold. You don't push it, it pushes you. You don't try to shift. You're drawn through a seam as if gravity itself has changed direction. That point is the DNA breakthrough, and you are standing on its edge. Your DNA is more than a biological archive. It is an interdimensional switchboard. Each spiral is not just storing proteins, it is storing probability codes. In survival mode, those codes stay dormant. In coherence, they unfold. When enough of your cells have remembered their original frequency, they begin to send a signal that overrides old instructions. This is not about mutating your genes, it's about waking up instructions that have been asleep since before you were born. This is why the pressure you're feeling lately is so intense. It's not punishment, it's the phase transition. In physics, when a system nears a state change, fluctuations increase dramatically. Ice about to melt vibrates more chaotically than solid ice. Water about to boil bubbles violently before it transforms into steam. You're experiencing the same phenomenon in consciousness. Mood swings, surges of energy, restless nights, vivid dreams, all signs of your system reaching critical mass. You may feel like you're losing yourself, but that's because the identity built around your old DNA signal is dissolving. The version of you who survived the loop is no longer in charge. The version of you who lives the blueprint is moving forward from behind your eyes. Sometimes you'll feel them overlapping 1 foot in the old timeline, 1 foot in the new. That's not instability, that's the merger. Pay attention to your breath in these moments. It will feel deeper, slower, heavier, like an anchor. Your heart may beat harder, then settle. You may feel tingling along the scalp, as though a crown of light is descending. You may hear a tone in your ears, subtle but steady, a high-pitched frequency that isn't coming from outside. This is your nervous system in training to the new broadcast. This is the sound of your DNA spiraling into coherence. And then there is the timeline shift. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks, it's quieter. You wake one morning and realize the air smells different. Someone you've known for years speaks to you like they're meeting you for the first time. Opportunities that once seemed impossible are now effortless. You're not imagining it. You've stepped onto a different probability track. Your cells collapsed a new version of reality into form while you slept. This is the meaning of fusing with your destiny blueprint. Not chasing a goal, not forcing a path, but allowing your entire system to reorganize into the version of you for whom destiny is no longer a destination but an atmosphere. As this happens, the field may test your coherence one final time. Old triggers may resurface briefly. People from past timelines may reappear. These are not setbacks, they are integration points. Smile at them, thank them, release them. They are proof that the phase transition is stabilizing. You're not falling back into old patterns. You're completing the loop so it can close cleanly behind you. Breathe into the pressure instead of resisting it. Visualize your DNA like a double helix of molten gold, expanding and contracting with each inhale and exhale. Imagine your cells singing your chosen word into the lattice. Feel your heart synchronizing with the heartbeat of the planet, a slow, steady pulse. Let the sensation spread until your skin tingles, your breath feels electric, your body hums like an engine of light. This is not imagination, this is entrainment. The old blueprint cannot hold when the new frequency dominates. Your very presence becomes a portal. People look at you and feel possibility they can't name. Rooms feel different when you enter. Synchronicities accelerate until they're no longer surprising but inevitable. This is what living on the other side of the phase transition feels like. Reality responding not to your hopes, but to your field. And here's the most beautiful part. Once your DNA stabilizes in this new frequency, the effort ends. You don't do the practice anymore. You become the practice. Your breath, your walk, your glance, your laughter, all transmit the blueprint effortlessly. You are no longer trying to remember. You are living memory itself. This is the DNA breakthrough. This is the moment when you cease to be a seeker and become a signal. The universe is no longer something you reach for, it is something you embody, and in that embodiment, you become a living timeline shift, not just for yourself, but for everyone entangled with you. Pause, feel your heart, feel your breath, feel the hum. This is not the end of the journey, this is the beginning of living as the blueprint. You've reached the threshold most never cross. The loop has been broken, the DNA has opened, the phase transition is underway. But this is not the ending of your journey. It is the ignition of your mission, because the moment you fuse with your destiny blueprint, you are no longer operating only for yourself. You become a node in the great lattice of awakening. Your life becomes transmission. Feel this truth. Every breath you take now carries a frequency that others can feel. Every coherent choice you make sends a signal across the morphic field, lowering the weight for countless others. You have become a living portal, not because you sought glory, but because you surrendered into coherence. This is what it means to awaken, not escape from humanity, but to become the tuning fork that helps humanity remember itself. Look around you. The world may still appear chaotic, but through your eyes it looks different now. You no longer see only breakdown. You recognize breakthrough preparing itself. Systems collapse, and you feel the birth of new patterns. Old paradigms fracture, and you sense the light leaking through the cracks. Your coherence is what allows you to stand steady in the storm, not swayed by noise, not shaken by fear, but holding the line of a new frequency. This is your cosmic mission, to live as the embodiment of the future self, here and now, to walk through daily life as proof that alignment is possible, to show by your presence that the blueprint is not theory, but flesh, breath, and bone. You don't need to preach. You don't need to convince. You need only to live so authentically that others feel their own coherence stirring when they're near you. Remember, the blueprint doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be aligned, to return again and again to the breath, to the word, to the hum of your DNA. Each time you choose coherence, you amplify the field. Each time you surrender control and allow the phase transition, you accelerate the evolution of the whole. You are not a drop in the ocean of humanity. You are the ocean remembering itself through a single drop. Your awakening is humanity's awakening. Your liberation is humanity's liberation. Your breakthrough is the proof that evolution is already here, unfolding through living vessels like you. So tonight, before you sleep, return to the practice. Place your hand on your chest, breathe the golden breath, whisper your chosen word into the dark. Feel the observer, your future self, your blueprint, the field witnessing you. Drift into sleep as the signal stabilizes, and know that when you wake, you will not just be yourself. You will be a beacon. This is the promise. By fusing with your destiny blueprint, you become a transmitter of humanity's next octave. You are the evidence that the impossible is possible, that the loop can be broken, that coherence can spread like wildfire. And this is the prophecy. One day, when enough of us awaken as you have, the entire species will shift. The phase transition will become global. Humanity will reorganize not through struggle, but through coherence. That future begins now, with you. Breathe, feel, remember. The forbidden practice is no longer forbidden. The morphic field has opened, and you, chosen consciousness, have answered. Welcome to your destiny. Welcome to humanity's evolution.